In heist movies, every job has a leader, the one who plans the operation. You have the team, the guys that put everything in motion. And of course, you have the score. But what about the people who get ripped off? In the heist I'm about to talk about, the victims were not a faceless institution. They were a mom and pop shop, but they got ripped off all the same. The 2001-2002 Sacramento Kings were a championship team with no ring to show for it. Beaten, robbed, and would never recover. This is the story of Game 6 of the 2002 Western Conference Finals, the biggest robbery in NBA history, as told from the Sacramento Kings' perspective. Let's get the sponsor of the vid right out of the way. We are all looking every day for little sources of happiness, are we not? I'll tell you what makes me happy is seeing a giant green box from HelloFresh on my doorstep. Let me tell you why. When you get meals from HelloFresh delivered right to your door, you know these things. The meal is going to be delicious, it's going to be easy to prepare and cook, you actually save 28% versus grocery shopping, and everything in the box is sustainable, and you're going to waste less food. When HelloFresh arrives, I can relax. I don't have to worry about going out or what I have to pick for dinner. It's all taken care of. Look at this garden spinach ricotta ravioli I'm making. It was quick to cook, low carb, and yummy. So after this video, click on the link below and go to HelloFresh.com and use the code 5points12 to get 12 free meals across 4 boxes. And free shipping. Again, that's HelloFresh.com from the link below and use code 5points12 and get 12 free meals and free shipping. Have happiness sent right to your front door. HelloFresh. Up until 1996, the Kings were the Western Conference's punching bag. Their first 10 years in Sacramento resulted in 0 playoff appearances. There wasn't much to rob from them starting out. For 14 years prior, they were the Kansas City Kings until 1985 when they packed up and headed west to a city of just 300,000, nestled in the shadow of San Francisco and Oakland. But Sacramento was hungry for professional sports, and despite failing to recruit the Raiders to the small town, they finally got the Kings, and the city was appreciative, even if it was objectively terrible basketball. The team squandered the first overall pick, lost 2 other young stars. Bobby Hurley was injured in a car crash, and Ricky Berry took his own life in the summer of 1989. However, the team and the fans would eventually put up a nice, inviting storefront worthy of a robbery. Their fortunes changed in 1998 when the Kings traded for star forward Chris Webber. With his addition, timed with the acquisitions of sharpshooting Peja Stojakovic, former Laker big man Vlade Divac, and spectacular rookie point guard Jason Williams, the Kings were building a serious contender, but there were still giant barriers keeping this mom-and-pop shop from succeeding. They would have to face organizations like Tim Duncan's San Antonio Spurs, Stockton and Malone's Utah Jazz, and their tough neighbors to the south, the Los Angeles Lakers. To Sacramento, the Kings were the only show in town, but there were no celebrities, no Jack Nicholson sitting courtside. The Kings' unselfish, dazzling brand of basketball spurred on their raucous crowd. Outside of Webber, the Kings had no true superstars, but they had an oddball assortment of journeymen who made each other better. We had a motley crew of guys, said Kings forward Scott Pollard. We had Euro guys. We had guys that couldn't speak English. We had guys that didn't want to speak English. We had guys like me from Planet Whatever. As fun as they were to watch, they didn't command the high viewership that the Lakers did. The Lakers had just celebrated back-to-back championships, both times beating the Kings in the playoffs. But as they paraded through downtown, the tiny Kings were gearing up for a ring the old-fashioned way, from the ground up. Before the 2002 season, the Kings traded white chocolate for Mike Bibby, a fundamentally sound point guard. Bibby's presence stabilized the starting unit, kept the team moving at the quickest pace in the league. Everything was coming together, and it culminated in a 61-21 record, the best in the NBA. The Kings found themselves 1 win away from the NBA Finals, with a score to settle. The Kings are now 48 minutes away from eliminating their nemesis Lakers. However, we need to take a quick look at the games prior. After 2 shockingly dominating performances in the series, the Kings had a chance to go up 3-1. However, a tipped rebound landed in Robert Horry's hands, Big Shot Bob hit a clutch three, tying the series at 2.
That was a lucky play. Coach didn't draw that up. That wasn't a second or third option. That was a lucky play. A fumble out of the inside, outside. Now, Horry shooting it was not lucky. That's a big shot. I have to give him credit. That's a big-time player. But it was a lucky play.
In Game 5, the Kings found themselves down a point with 11.4 seconds to go. Kings coach Rick Adelman faced a tough decision. Out of the timeout, he drew up a brilliant play.
Back to Bibby, has the open shot.
Having Weber use his big body to set the screen for Bibby was a stroke of genius.
Coming out the huddle, the play was for Webb. He could either fake and hand off, take it himself, or hand it off to me. And I just told him, I said, if you don't shoot it and you hand it off to me, I'm going to knock it down.
The Kings were up 3-2, were playing much better ball than the Lakers, and were convinced they had this won.
I think that was the first time that you could see defeat on the Lakers' face. Like, they going into the next game, them sitting, like the videos and stuff of them sitting on the bench, they knew it was over.
Unfortunately for them, the mob would have none of it. This Cowtown was messing with big business. There was no way the little guy was going to come out on top.
That is Little Bow Wow, the star of the movie Like Mike. Chris Rock is here. Eddie Murphy, Will Smith, and his wife Jada Pinkett, and of course Jack.
Almost right out of the gate, the Kings found themselves knee-deep in fouls.
Any fouls on Vlade yet? Here's the first. Hard to see how this is a foul on Vlade, who just sort of stands behind the mountain moving in on him.
The Kings played hard interior defense on Shaq, who had fouled out earlier in the series, but this time the refs were quick to blow the whistle in O'Neal's favor. Vlade Divac was quickly in foul trouble. Scott Pollard, the team's best defender, played just 11 minutes before racking up 6 fouls.
O'Neal facing the double, went to the drop step, he cuts and the foul. Wait a moment, traveling violation is called. One official saying yes and the foul, an outside official called it a travel.
All we could do is laugh, Pollard said. We were watching Vlade guarding Shaq, and he's guarding him all year, and they're calling fouls on him. You're watching me getting bumped off my spot by 2 feet, and then Shaq elbows me in the chin on the way up, and it's a foul on me. And then you're watching Lawrence Funderburk try to do anything he can possibly do when he's outweighed by 100 pounds, because we're down to him and Chris Webber.
Getting it on the Shaq is just throwing it down time and time again. No stopping the big man.
Shaq was able to feast, having an uncharacteristically efficient night at the line, shooting 76% from the stripe and 56% from the field. But the Kings kept answering back, led by Webber and solid bench scoring from Peja Stojakovic and Bobby Jackson. Near the end of the third quarter, the Kings got a taste of what was to come in the final 12 minutes. No call on their end and a quick whistle on the other.
Number 4 on Pollard.
It starts at that end, but that was clearly a foul against Victor. That how can you make this call right here as Kobe squeezes in between?
The Kings and the Lakers entered the fourth quarter tied at 75. But any rhythm the Kings had found was interrupted by a chorus of whistles and a barrage of free throws. With Pollard out and Vlade Divac 1 foul away from the same fate, the Kings were forced to play veteran Lawrence Funderburk on Shaq, who, as we alluded to, gave up 95 pounds to the big fella. Up 2 points with 3 minutes to go, the Kings had a chance to extend their narrow lead.
To take it back to Sacramento for a Game 7. Webber called for the offensive foul. That's number 5 on Webber.
And this is a terrible call. Look at his feet. His feet are outside of Robert Horry's.
Seconds later, Vlade Divac fouled out. At this point, the Kings must be perplexed and mentally drained. Everything they do seems to be going against them. After Divac fouled out, from then on, the Lakers just made one more shot from the field. But somehow, rubber kept meeting twine. Sacramento led by a point with 2 minutes remaining. Kobe Bryant drove down the baseline to take the lead, but Christie played hard D and Webber blocked Kobe's shot. All ball. Everyone could see it except for, guess who? The Lakers kept getting to the line, and they extended their lead to 3 in the waning moments. And the fouls kept getting worse and worse. With 11.8 seconds left in the game, the Gritty Kings were still not out of it. They could foul and hope for a 3-point game with 1 possession left. Kobe tried to get free for an inbounds pass, and in doing so, elbowed Mike Bibby in the face. There was no call. In fact, when Bibby went down, the Kings were charged their last time out. Official Bob Delaney was standing on the baseline with a perfect view of the play. He swallowed his whistle. It pissed me off because when I got up, I thought they called a foul on him, Bibby said. I didn't know what happened. I remember saying, "You called a foul on me?" And my nose was bleeding, and I blew some of my blood out onto the court just to show them. Doug Christie intentionally fouled, and Bryant made both free throws. And so Mike Bibby went for the tie, and he took a contested 3 from straight away. The job had been finished.
Game 7, Sunday night in Sacramento, 7 o'clock.
On August 15, 2007, 13-year NBA officiating vet Tim Donaghy pled guilty to charges of conspiracy. He had been caught betting on games that he had been officiating, as well as fixing point spreads for mobsters in exchange for cash payments. A year later, before Donaghy was sentenced to 15 months in prison, his lawyer filed a court document that stated Donaghy learned from referee A that referees A and F wanted to extend the series to 7 games. Tim knew referees A and F to be company men, always acting in the interest of the NBA, and that night, it was in the NBA's interest to add another game to the series. That series the document refers to was the 2002 Western Conference Finals between the Kings and the Lakers. Referees A and F are believed to be longtime officials Dick Bavetta and Bob Delaney, 2 of the 3 refs assigned to the series. Delaney, before becoming an official, was a cop who had once gone undercover to infiltrate the mob in northern New Jersey. The 3rd ref was Ted Bernhardt, who was not named in the document. Years later, Bernhardt remembered a call he received after Game 6. Ed Rush, my boss at the time, called and asked what I thought about the game. Bernhardt said, "I said, well, I thought my partners sucked." He wasn't the only one who thought they sucked, but it wasn't a matter of whether they failed. It was whether or not they failed on purpose. NBA Commissioner David Stern dismissed the claims, calling Donaghy a singing corporate witness and a rogue, isolated criminal. However, analysis of the game backs up Donaghy's claims. The Lakers shot 27 free throws in the 4th quarter. The first 5 games in the series, the Lakers averaged 22 free throws the entire game. Over the course of Game 6, the Kings went 18 of 25 from the stripe. The Lakers were 34 of 40. The Kings were called for 31 personal fouls. The Lakers, 24. There's no doubt in my mind that the Sacramento Kings should have a ring on their finger, Tim Donaghy said in 2019. They were the best team in the league that year. That Game 6 was definitely a situation where, towards the end of that game, they got robbed. Donaghy would go pretty hard at Dick Bavetta, who he cited as the main perp. Bavetta, despite reffing the most games in NBA history, didn't have a stellar reputation, known for seeking the spotlight and self-promoting far more than the average official. He claimed several times to several of us that he was the NBA's go-to guy, Donaghy said. He was put on Game 6s to force Game 7s. They know that they gave the Lakers the benefit of several calls in that game, thinking it was just going to go to a Game 7, and Sacramento was going to win on their home floor. The NBA got what they wanted. The series extended, the cash cow still in contention, and awaiting Game 7, a ratings goldmine. But what the Kings got was robbed. The league may have expected the better team to win at home in Game 7, but the Kings were exhausted, both mentally and physically.
I just remember being totally exhausted, mentally exhausted after the game, and moments like that, you just never forget.
To win 5 games out of 7 was asking too much. The Kings fought hard in front of their own fans, but couldn't make a shot. Just 2 of 20 behind the arc and 16 of 30 from the stripe. There's no denying that the Kings had plenty of chances in the final game. They were simply unable to capitalize. With a shot to win it at the end of regulation, Peja Stojakovic airballed a three that would have sent the Kings to the finals. When the clock hit zeros in overtime, the cowbell-ringing fans went silent, and the Kings lost their only best shot at winning a ring. The Lakers put down the underdog Nets in 4 games, giving them the elusive three-peat. The Kings blew it in Game 7, and they knew it, but they hadn't blown it a game before. That much was obvious to anyone who had watched Game 6. Within 3 seasons, Chris Webber had blown out his knee and was traded. Vlade Divac had retired, and the team was gutted. The Kings made the playoffs every year until 2006, but failed to return to the conference finals. The team has now missed the playoffs for 14 straight seasons, the second longest active drought in sports behind the Seattle Mariners. Sacramento nearly lost their entire team a decade after coming within seconds of making the finals, but were saved by the efforts of their semi-civilized fans and Kevin Johnson. The Kings will likely never receive justice for a game that was stolen from them. 2 years after the Kings lost, NBA Commissioner David Stern was asked what his dream finals matchup would be. Lakers versus Lakers is what he said. Mom and Pop got robbed, and there was nothing they could do about it. I guess the only thing that they could do was take it to court.
Wide a little bit. He takes exception. There you go. Ball to the face. Hand to the face.
Ooh.
Another hand to the face.
No, punch to the chin.